finally, here in New York City, we are wrapping up Watch Week. 3 major events happening all at the same time. The Red Bar Global Meetup. We also had Watch Time, and then of course my favorite, Wind Up. And I went to Wind Up to not only see all of the watches, but also meet all of the people behind the brands, and it was really a great time. I highly recommend it for anyone who wants to get into watches or is into watches and just wants to see a lot of watches all at once. One of my favorite watches from the fair was the ADPT Series 1, the watch that I actually have on my wrist right now. I have one in for review. It is the Carbon Dial, and I'm really excited about this watch. The design sort of speaks to me, and it's just really cool. So let's flip the camera and take a look at one of my favorite watches from the Wind Up Watch Fair, the ADPT Series 1. As I mentioned in the intro, there were a ton of watches at the Wind Up Watch Fair. I was sort of a kid in a candy store. I was running around testing out watches, looking at everything that I hadn't seen before. One of the watches that I was very excited to see was ADPT. So the ADPT Series 1 by Worn and Wound, and I'm really lucky to have one here to show to you guys. So this is sort of an go everywhere, do everything watch. Obviously it says it right here, all day, purpose, and terrain. That's what they're going for. And you can see the design of their box. This is just a cardboard box. Inside you have a watch pouch. Inside there is a watch that has a little bungee cord enclosure, but there's some stickers here and then a little warranty information. Really cool, very simple, but very nice packaging. And then of course, here is the package that the actual watch comes in. So this is something that you could use over and over again. I love that. It's made out of sort of a canvas material, and you just slide this open, and then of course inside there is the watch. Now here is the watch. Now you can see this is the Carbon Dial version. So there are a few different versions. I think they made 4 different color variations. This is carbon, and you can see it has a gray dial, but there are layers to this dial. So you sort of have a crosshair dial. I think that's what they were going for. You have very large indices. Those are filled with Loom. And then you have a blue-black bezel that you don't normally get on this watch. Now, I say this watch because this was actually an original design from Boulder, but what ADPT here, or Worn and Wound did here, was they added a bezel on top. This is an aluminum bezel, and usually their field watch from Boulder, that's basically what this is, does not get a bezel. Now, I don't think I've ever seen one of their field watches with the bezel. Maybe I'm wrong, but I've reviewed them here on my channel. I've never seen them before. This is in titanium, and you do get a black crown. So I believe it is a DLC coated crown, screwed in case back, screwed in crown, drilled lugs, 200 meters of water resistance, sapphire crystal, NH35 inside. The crown is signed with the ADPT logo, not the Boulder logo, just in case you were wondering. And then of course you have a friction fitted bezel. That is a 12-hour bezel so that you can time another time zone if you want to do that. And there is Loom. So they actually loom the indices on this bezel, which is great. This gets a single pass-through NATO that is made in the United States. Now, if you read up on ADPT straps, and I have actually purchased them in the past, I've owned watches from Worn and Wound, special editions that they did with Seiko, special editions that they did with other brands like Zodiac. Now, the Zodiac did not come with one of their straps. However, the Seiko did. The Seiko 5 that they recently did come with an ADPT strap. I'm not a huge fan of NATO straps, but I have to say these are great NATO straps. Number one, they're single pass-through, which I do like. Number two, they are made in the United States. And when I say made in the United States, essentially everything is made in the United States. Even the nylon thread that they're using, the hardware, everything. They even say the label is made in the United States, which is pretty incredible. So that's really great. Obviously, not the entire watch is made in the United States, but they're doing what they can and giving you a strap that is entirely made in the United States. And they're not expensive. They're actually pretty inexpensive considering what you're getting. The hands on here, the dial, the bezel, that's kind of the design language of Zach Weiss. If you're familiar with Zach Weiss, he is one of the founders of Worn & Round, but he's also a designer. So previously he was a designer before he got into the watch business, I guess. And I'm pretty sure he designed this watch. It reminds me a lot of the Zodiac that I purchased through Worn & Wound. They did a special limited edition that was inspired by sneakers. Now, I'm not saying that this is inspired by sneakers. In fact, I don't think this is inspired by sneakers, but it does look sort of modern, but with a 90s sort of twist to it. Taking a closer look at the dial, you have a texture on the bottom portion of the dial. That's where the indices are actually applied. Except for the primary indices, those are applied to the chapter ring, which has that crosshair on it. So there's a sort of a tapisserie dial on the bottom, and then you have the chapter ring, which has that crosshair. Then there are the primary indices sitting on top of that. All of those are filled with Loom. Then you have syringe hands, and they're bi-colored. They're blue and stainless steel, and they look great. They're also filled with Loom, and I think that Loom is sort of a bluish color. Then you have the second hand. Second hand, you have a little rectangle in red. That meets the minute track all the way out on the outer portions of the dial. So does the minute hand, and the hour hand just touches the edge of each one of the outer portion of the indices. So they did a really good job designing the hands, really thoughtfully done. Then you have a date at 6 o'clock. That is color matched, but not color matched to the dial. It's actually color matched to the color in the bezel, to the color of the primary indices, and also the minute track. So you have the markings on the minute track are actually in sort of an aqua bluish color. That's the color that you're getting on the date. Really cool touch, if you ask me. Like I mentioned, this is in titanium, and you get an NH35, so that's why you have the date at the 6 o'clock. But I think it looks really good. And they did something special with the date. I'll throw some pictures up so you can see what I'm saying. They sort of stack the numbers. It looks great. Sort of a custom date wheel. All in all, a really great watch. I'm going to do quick measurements to show you the size on here. So this is 38.4 at that bezel. I think it's exactly 38 millimeters at the case. All of Boulder's field watches are in that 38 millimeter range. And then of course the lug to lug is a lug to lug of, let's see, 43.8 on the strap. It doesn't really wear that way, but 44.9. And thickness on here, this is an automatic watch with 200 meters of water resistance, so 13.2 millimeters. And then the crown, of course, you have a really nice crown on here, 5.8 millimeters, really nice size for a 38 millimeter watch. Very quickly, I'm gonna throw it on my wrist, and then I'm going to do a Loom shot because everything is filled with Loom. We'll also talk about price very quickly. So today I have on one of my strangest watches, and I don't know why I wore this actually. I've been wearing this on and off for the past few weeks. This is a Romain Jerome spacecraft. This is made by Ingenieur and Eric Giraud, the people who make most of MB&Fs, kind of the reason why I bought this watch, and I really love it. It is a linear jump hour retrograde watch that I don't think people notice very much. It's a pretty looked over watch. Anyway, here is the Adapt Series 1 on my 7.5 inch wrist. So I have a 7.5 inch wrist. This is a 38 millimeter watch. And I have to say, you might have seen this on my Instagram already. It is really comfortable. And I really think it's a good looking watch. I love the design of this watch. They make a few different colors. I think this is probably the tamest color, although there are some more interesting colors that they offer, and they are really good for fall and winter. They have some really great outdoor looks to them, I think. And this sort of looks like it's ready to go outdoors. I think that's kind of what they were going for. Anyway, this costs $449. I really think that's a good price considering the amount of detail that you're getting. You're also getting that travel pouch, which is really nice travel pouch, but it's the Loom that they've added, the titanium case, it's an automatic. You're getting a really interesting dial, really interesting indices, setup of everything. I think it's worth the $449 in my opinion. Really a beautiful watch. And of course that strap, which is made in the United States. Very cool, very different, which is really hard to do and pull it off and make it look cool. And that's what they did here. So very quickly, a Loom shot and then we'll wrap up the video. Well, there you go. Loom does not disappoint. They did a great job. Everything is Loom. The first 15 minutes on the bezel. By the way, the bezel is bi-directional friction fitted. I don't know if I mentioned that before. You do get Loom throughout the entire bezel. First 15 minutes, obviously, fully loomed. And then you have all of the indices, the hands, even the second hand, very liberally applied with Loom. That second hand obviously has Loom on it, so you can see that it's working in the dark. I love that. The design of this watch really does speak to me. I purchased their first collaboration with Zodiac. I think it was their first collaboration with Zodiac. It was inspired by sneakers and the 90s. I loved it. I had to have it. I purchased it immediately. Such a cool, weird watch. And I really get the same vibes from this watch. A little bit of the same vibes, not entirely, but in a different way. And I like it just as much. Tell me what you guys think down in the comments below. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, hit that bell icon. It is super helpful for the channel and I very much appreciate it. Please follow me on Instagram. My Instagram is WatchChrisBlog, all one word. There are some links down in the description below. If you click any of those links, it helps support the channel. It doesn't cost you anything extra. However, I very much appreciate it. Anyway, thank you for logging on. I'll catch you guys in the next video.